This is not an exclusive group. They would always be glad to welcome others. They meet on Thursdays in the mornings in our education building. They are the ones who made these beautiful quilts that you see on the altar rail. And they have asked to do a quilt blessing today, and these quilts will be going to a home for abused and battered women and children. Children's Recovery Center in Myrtle Beach treats about 400 children a year in Horry County that have been assaulted. So if you would like to be a part of this, you're encouraged to speak to one of these ladies. That's why I asked them to come forward. I walked up to the door, and it was closed. My heart was pounding. I could feel the blood rushing through my veins. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. And then the doors slowly opened. I stepped in to this windowless room, and then the doors closed behind me. My heart was still pounding. My breaths were getting smaller. I turned around and pushed the number of the floor I was going to. And after a few seconds, everything was okay. I tell you this story because it is of one of my first experiences as a minister with elevators. For many years in my life, I was afraid of riding on elevators. Yeah, I was. Now, some of you are probably rolling your eyes and thinking, yeah, right. Who could be afraid of that? Claustrophobia is real, and the fear of being in confined places and windowless spaces. And this memory came rushing back to me about a week or so ago as I saw a news headline scroll on my Twitter feed about an elevator that had fallen into disrepair, I think, in South America. Some of you have seen this story. They had video from the elevator of a big, heavy, strong, I think he was a boxer, am I right? Big, strong guy getting onto an elevator. My worst fears of elevators were realized when the camera in the elevator captured this elevator, close the doors, and rapidly ascend in a 30-story or more building. It was out of control. He started pushing buttons. You could see him frantically push buttons, and then to no avail, and then all of a sudden, the video stops. What had happened is the elevator reached the top of its trajectory and ran into the roof, throwing him into the roof of the elevator. He was in intensive care and may still be there. Yeah, there's something to be scared of. That's why we send the kids out during this part. Don't make them afraid. Yeah, there's something that's real there. It's a real fear. Maybe my fear is not your fear. Maybe that's why it doesn't seem so real, but fear is real. I tell you that story because it came back up to me this past week, and I prayed about it. And what came to me was this. Here's a teaching opportunity. So I pulled my children aside and talked to them about my fear that I once had of elevators. Now, you can tell I don't have a fear of elevators anymore because I don't obviously walk up flights of stairs in the hospital. Now, I talked to them about what makes us afraid and how we can live with that fear all of our lives and never tell anyone that we're afraid, and it's always there. It never goes away. And something will bring it back up, and we're right back there again. And sometimes those fears can get a little bit less over time, and then something happens again and brings them back up. I talked to them, and we talked about things that they are afraid of. And it was much like talking to the children there. It's amazing how this opened up an opportunity for us to chat. And I hope, my goal is that that conversation with my own family didn't teach them that Daddy was once afraid of riding in elevators. Number one, who cares? The point of the lesson was that it's okay to speak that you are afraid, that there are things that you are scared of. In a little bit of research, I found that one of the most deep-rooted fears in children is the fear of being abandoned or left alone, of a parent dying. For those who get older, the fear is not that different. For those who are married, it's of losing your spouse, of them dying before you, the fear of being alone. It's a deep-seated and a deep-rooted fear that we carry with us. The fear that I'm alone. I'm all by myself. In our first lesson today, Jeremiah the prophet laments some of his walking with God and working for God. And that's a good thing for us to hear. Read the book of Lamentations sometime. Read Jeremiah. One of the things that we do, I think, like I told the children, so that we have to tell ourselves, or can tell ourselves that we're okay, is when someone else laments or shares their fears. It isn't, oh, it's okay, it's going to be okay. The knee-jerk reaction is to ridicule and belittle. I can't believe you're afraid of that. God made you that way, pre-wired you that way. And for us to deny that is to deny how God made us. Jesus tells us over and over in Scripture, do not be afraid. It could be translated as, you don't have to be afraid. Than the sending for those going to Tanzania, dare I say, because you're going to see some things that are pretty interesting, maybe even scary in Tanzania. Think of the things that teenagers see on a weekly basis. We're saying, we're promising, we're going to be with you. We're going to help you. You may move, they may move, but God's going to be with you wherever you shall go.